Welcome to what is or was the first closed but not really closed beta for Tom Clancy's XDefiant. Wait, scratch that. Sorry, they changed the title of the game. Now it is just XDefiant. XDefiant is a class-based first-person shooter where each team fights over various objectives on a map, from escorting a quadruped robot across the map to maintaining control of zones to earn more points than the other team. Nothing is new here game type-wise or gameplay-wise, really, but at least that is from what was available at the time of the beta. So, let's dive into this pile that is XDefiant. And you know what, let's start right there with the name. Initially, XDefiant was revealed as Tom Clancy's XDefiant. It was a team-based first-person shooter utilizing various factions from across multiple Tom Clancy and other Ubisoft franchises. However, just the marketing, style, and overall feel of the trailer and subsequent information on it really got the fans of Tom Clancy games up in arms, and to be honest here, I was one of those people with a torch and pitchfork ready to go. Then again, I also haven't personally liked Tom Clancy's games in ages, so it's really just the memory of what once was. Really, to me, Gra and Rainbow Six Vegas were kind of the beginning of the downfall, but I still routinely go back and play the original Ghost Recon titles as well as Rainbow Six Rogue Spear. Man, those were the good old days. Playing games on the good old MSN Gaming Zone. Now you can fairly accurately guess how old I am. Anyways, due to just a total complete shift away from what a Tom Clancy game is, as well as inclusions of Liberation Forces from Far Cry and DedSec from Watch Dogs and potentially other factions from other Ubisoft games, the fan community behind the corpse of the Tom Clancy universe of games rallied, and here we are, now with just XDefiant, and I do have to say, they would have done my favorite author dirty if one of my favorite authors dirty if this game launched with his name stapled to it. Now, there are a few good things that XDefiant does good, but nothing really great, however. On the good side, it is launching as a free-to-play shooter, so the barrier of entry is going to be having a console or PC to run it, so that's a good start. Your modern typical FPS game modes are present as well. Escort is a mode where, you guessed it, one team escorts an item from the start to the end of the map. In this case, it is a quadruped robo-dog carrying an EMP or the like. This mode was initially invented by Team Fortress, embraced by Overwatch, and now multiple different games have this mode, including XDefiant. You also have zone control, and I think the best comparison for this would also be Overwatch, or the Call of Duty Competitive League, CDL, I believe it's called, where one team pushes forward to capture a zone while the other defends it, and then the points move further back along the map until either the attacking team is out of time or the defending team has lost all of the points. Then, we do also have Domination, which doesn't really need much of an explanation. This mode is in nearly every single game mode. Destiny 2 has it, Call of Duty has it, Battlefield has a mode like it. Finally, we have Occupy, which utilizes a moving control point around the map. Think King of the Hill, that's essentially what it is. All modes do have infinite respawns, so nothing more tactical yet. Nothing with finite respawns, so don't worry about a mode where you're going to die once and then you have to sit out, wait, and watch. That is not in this game yet. Now, your classes, or as XDefiant likes to call them, factions, is how you choose what skills you have to utilize in the gameplay itself. There is primarily an active skill, a passive skill, and an ultimate skill, and the skills do all range from faction to faction. You have the Cleaners, known for their presence in the Division series. Their passive is their munitions are incendiary. They do have a damage over time effect on the bullets, however, they do have a reduced distance, a reduced damage fall-off distance. So you also have two actives, a firebomb, which is a Molotov cocktail, as well as an incendiary drone, which you send out and just drop a little bit of scorched earth under it. The ultimate is an equipable flamethrower, so you get to run around all Black Ops Juggernaut vibes. Next up, we have the Phantoms from Ghost Recon Future Soldier. And with a name like that, you'd think they'd be the cool stealthy option, but nope, not at all. They are literally the opposite. The Phantoms are the tanky class in XDefiant, starting off with a passive, which gives them an extra 20 base health. Tailored gene therapy, I believe is what it's called. Then their actives include the mag barrier, which is a deployable forward barrier that prevents enemy ballistics and projectiles from going past it. Then you have the blitz shield, which is a ride shield so you can move around and pummel people with it, the melee attack. Then lastly you have the Aegis, which is a spherical zone around you that protects you from bullets, and if someone gets too close, you can shoot them. So yeah, the Phantoms are literally the opposite of what you'd expect by choosing the Phantoms faction from Ghost Recon. Ghost Recon has many other units they could have chosen to better represent this, but other than that, yes, they do also literally just have 3 different tank abilities from 3 different Overwatch tanks, so you're not crazy there. Next we have the Libertad from Far Cry 6. This is the first of the non-Tom Clancy factions in the game. Starting off the passive, they got nothing. There was a balance patch in its second day of being released where their increased self-healing, their heal over time, was removed from player feedback because that was what everyone was choosing, because that increased rate of self-healing was apparently game-breaking. So yeah, they removed that so they don't have any current passives as of this recording. Their active abilities are the Biovita, which is a little healing grenade which gives you a burst of healing in a circle around you. Then they also have the El Remedio, which is a little AoE healing that you throw and continues a prolonged healing effect until it's destroyed or you pick it up. Their ultimate is the Medico Supremo, which provides a large health and healing boost to all around you for its duration, all around you being your teammates, obviously. Next up, we have Echelon. Nope, they're not the 3rd Echelon or the 4th Echelon from the Splinter Cell series, just Echelon. These guys are the stealthy members of the available factions. Really? They should have just chosen a different Ghost Recon unit to use. They have so many to go with, and yes, I'm still salty about this. Anyway, the passive on Echelon is called Low Profile. You do not appear on the enemy minimaps when performing any action, so it's Ghost from Call of Duty, or at least older Call of Duties where it was worth running. The activated abilities are Digital Ghillie Suit, which gives you a moment of being near invisible and harder to see, albeit you're easier to see if you're aiming or moving, and it goes away once you do shoot. And the other one is Intel Suit, which sends out pulses of sonar waves for you to detect enemies and reveal them on the minimap. So, UAV from personal UAV from Call of Duty. Next up, we have their ultimate, and that is the Sonar Goggles. Sonar Goggles will reveal enemies through walls to you, an outline of them for the entirety that's active. So think a super buffed up Widowmaker from Overwatch buff. And this also gives you, and I quote directly from the game, Sam Fisher's 5.7 pistol. Because you can't just have any 5 points. You can't just have any 5.7 pistol. You have to have Sam Fisher's pistol. And honestly, this is the one you'll run into the most, is everyone is running around with Sam Fisher's pistol. That man had a lot of 5.7s. Last up here for the factions, we do have DedSec, who I would like to add were not available to play as of this recording, but could be viewed from the Factions tab in the main menu where you can go over different abilities. That's also where you choose your skins for each faction. That's a forthcoming microtransaction. Don't you wait, just you wait for that. Their passive is called Fabricator. You 3D print your utility after deploying your devices, so potentially you're looking at your grenades or other devices that you can use. Your actives are Hijack. You can somber up some enemy utility that's been planted across the map and use it for your own team, and Spiderbot, which is a little bot that will move to an enemy and climb on their face and stun them for a few seconds, which is kind of neat. Finally, their ultimate is Lockout, which is just a somber ult but in a designated circle AoE. So you can drop this on a control point or objective, and the enemy would not be able to use their actives or their ultimate abilities. Now, creating a loadout is pretty good as well. Choose from the common variety of guns you have in shooters, such as assault rifles, submachine guns, light machine guns, marksman rifles, sniper rifles, and of course, the sidearm available is the handgun. Each gun can have a total of 5 attachments, all at the same time. You just have to choose which ones of each you would like to have, as well as a skin. You also do have a throwable slot, And these are going to be grenade, sticky grenade, flashbang, proximity mine, or EMP grenade. Maps so far have been designed with 1 or 2 modes in mind. So any map that has escort or zone control will not have domination or occupy. So there's shared map pools between 2 different modes, which is kind of nice and keeps them fairly balanced. And there we have it, the good. Now, time to move on to the bad, and it definitely outweighs what good we have here. Firstly, here on the sort of bad side of things is that it is a free-to-play game, and it is going to do free-to-play game things. Rarely do we get a great, long-lasting free-to-play title where there aren't really any microtransactions in the store that lead to a gameplay advantage, and this is Ubisoft we're talking about. So you're looking at new factions available only for purchase, or a shortcut for them, or new weapons, or new weapon blueprints to give them people access to this. So, yeah, everything I saw are like a premium battle pass here, who knows. On top of that, this does really just feel like a free-to-play shooter. This is coming from Ubisoft as well, a AAA games publisher. Say what you will about how bloated their open worlds are and stuff like that. Their games do always feel like a AAA game if everything around that isn't there. This is being developed by Ubisoft San Francisco. They are responsible for this title. They are the team that has been behind the Rocksmith series, a music series about playing the guitar, pretty neat, as well as South Park The Fractured But Whole. So they do have a game that's not Rocksmith, but it's also a far cry from what this was, and I believe they had help from the team who made The Stick of Truth. And honestly, this game also just feels like a cookie-cutter free-to-play FPS. The movement doesn't feel consistent across the board. General movement and sprinting feels super fast, however, like climbing objects feels super slow and doesn't seem to match the speed of just overall movement. Going side to side is kind of clunky when you're strafing. Mantling, that's also really weird. The animation for mantling objects doesn't line up with the ledges, so rather than grip on the ledge and climb up, because you're still holding onto your gun so you can shoot as you're coming over, you just put your hand on the wall and then just kind of move up the wall. You just kind of run up the wall. It does not make sense. One thing I noticed is that character models and the field of view that you're assuming they can see do not line up at all. They can just see you. Or it could be a mini-map thing, I don't know. It was just really weird to run into the few times I did. The sprint to slide is also wonky. That allows you to just spin like a little turd if you want. Maybe I'm just used to one of the good things that the Modern Warfare 2 remake did is where you're kind of stuck looking forward as you sprint to slide. Maybe I did like that. That was a great change, so that's really just being nitpicky here. Shooting feels okay at the best of times. Bullets sometimes obeying your reticle, other times disappearing into the ether. This could be a server issue, but who knows, because there were some other potential server-side issues I was having with lag, which makes no sense. I have 5 gig internet. This makes no sense here. Servers could have just been elsewhere. So, yeah, the bounce from the gun and where your reticle goes doesn't match where the bullets go, which is also weird. Any spray from a gun, it's going to follow that tip of the gun, and it doesn't in this case. It just sprays out randomly, like you're shooting buckshot. So, yeah. I did also, like I mentioned, get regularly killed through solid surfaces such as wall. These were metal shipping containers walls or brick. So I'm thinking this is also a server issue, but this made for an insanely poor time playing the game. And, yeah. Speaking of dying at random bullets, much like Call of Duty, there's really only one gun worth using of the available weapons because it shoots like a laser beam. I struggled and tortured myself to unlock the extra assault rifles, the ACR and the M16A4, and I just wound up using went back to using the M4 because the only one worth using. And this leads to another gripe. The AK-47 is the only other assault rifle you unlock leveling up your account level. That ACR and M16A4 are unlocked only after doing some long-winded, very specific challenges within the game. That is bad design. That is poor design. I'm honestly the feeling that you should really just unlock all the weapons from the get-go for players. And on top of that, they just weren't worth it. They were awful. Only M4 was worth using, so thanks Ubisoft. I wasted my time and sanity playing this game longer than I should have. And you know what? Don't even bother trying any of the other weapon classes you want, unless you want a self-inflicted lobotomy. SMGs have a range of about 5 feet before the damage falls off and are useless. They also don't counter this with any sort of extra hip fire accuracy. Shotguns have the range of a sneeze. By the time you get your extremely slow 2 shots off with the beginner shotgun for the kill, either the spread formed a perfect outline of the opponent, or they've already shot you twice from the hip with their M4. Or if they are further than 1 foot away, they just laugh to themselves and run away and shoot you from a distance where you're not going to do anything. LMGs are just unruly and ungood and no fun. They have that issue where the reticle doesn't really match up, you know, what they're trying to do. It's just not fun. Oh my god. Marksman rifles, while powerful, and the MK20 SSR and the SVD were 2-shot killing machines, its sight and reticle bounce to hell and back. You have to time your actual shots, which I do appreciate, but the reticle stays in the center of the screen while part of the gun moves away, so you're not getting an actual sight picture, and it just really wasn't worth the hassle. The sniper rifles were so slow to zoom in, and they weren't guaranteed one-shots, plus the maps are just kind of too small for any sort of sniper rifle usage. In the end, if you used anything other than just the M4A1, why? Why subject yourself to a subpar gun or experience? It already has the range of the marksman rifle, and in close quarter capabilities of a submachine gun, and it's not a shotgun, and it has you can get extended magazines like an LMG for sustained fire that you might need. It's just better. Just use a fully leveled up M4. You're going to have a better experience. Ubisoft San Francisco really needs to take a look at the gun balance in the game and fix this, because there's just no point in using anything other than that M4. It's like the M4 from original COD MW2. It's just the premier best gun you can use. And speaking of balance, my goodness, no lie. With 5 factions to play, 2 options per faction for a total of 10 potential classes to choose from, and I guess, wait. Let me see here. Let me count in my head. I might be wrong. You have the Phantoms, Cleaners, you have the Libertad, then you have the Echelon? Okay, so 4. You have 4 factions and 2 options per faction for a total of 10 potential classes to choose from. Easily 60% of each game or more were just Echelon with the camouflage ghillie suit option. No lie, that's just how it was. That's just unacceptable in a game where you're supposed to be crafting a team that complements one another for a objective-based shooter. You have 3 people on each team going invisible, and then 2 people just using the AoE heal to heal just themselves, because Ubisoft took away their self-healing passive, which just in turn means they're not using their, team abilities for the team. Occasionally, you would see a Phantom with a Blitz shield. The mag barrier was useless and no one used it. It was unruly. It launched. It bounced. It didn't just hit the ground and go. The grenade you launched it from actually ricocheted off surfaces and changed the direction it was facing. The Aegis was fun to use and fine at times. People use the Cleaners, and I don't know why. The Cleaners just kind of suck. That damage fall off is brutal. I was like, hell yeah, let's try this with a shotgun. That might get it over the top. No, that damage fall off is fucking killer on top of using a shotgun, where no longer it's the distance of a sneeze, it's the distance, it has the range of a runny nose. It was just awful. There's just no balance in the class system, and when you're making a class-based shooter, that's what you really do have to think of. I really do love the Tom Clancy games of old. Hell, I even love The Division and The Division 2. I haven't played The Division 2 since launch, but honestly, this game just made me want to play The Division 2, play a title that had some love and effort put into it, that had a comprehensive history of it. Like Rainbow Six Siege, people like it, not my thing. I don't really think it's a Tom Clancy game, but it just uses the name. Whatever. There have other games, but this is just really half-baked. This is a game that no one wanted initially. That will probably be dead in a few months or a few years. And we will see vast troves of pay-to-win microtransactions before that happens, so we'll at least know when to expect the end coming. Anyone remember Hyperspace? They hyped the hell out of that game. It was actually a cool take on the Battle Royale genre as well, something legitimately new in that crowded space. But they let that go to hell and killed it off eventually after providing no support outside of life support and eventually pulling the plug on that as well. And you know what? The Far Cry and Assassin's Creed game-birthing manufacturing line publisher kinda deserves this at this point. There's just nothing unique coming from their games anymore. Whenever they try to do anything unique, they just don't give it the support that it needs. There isn't a single unique thing about XDefiant, except I guess that it has an awful name. Not a single unique thing that you look for when making a game. The factions are just pulled and mashed together from other Ubisoft titles. The game modes are directly ripped off from other first-person shooter titles in the hero shooter or FPS genre. There's no, unique take on this. Faction abilities are literally just direct copies of abilities from Overwatch with themed names for their factions, and they use the wrong faction from Ghost Recon for the tank class. Phantoms, come the fuck on. This game just unabashedly asked multiple games if it could see their homework, then only change the header for each paragraph. They changed the title of the paper, that's about it. There is nothing unique, nothing to make it stand out. Because the good things in this game, that's all there is. Everything else is mediocre to bad. XDefiant, as it stands, can only do things good and on a superficial level. I didn't even get into how bad the UI was, where the newsfeed would cut off in lobbies, or you couldn't access some stuff, or you couldn't save loadouts, or anything like that. Oh my goodness. Where it needs to execute, it just fails terribly. Pretty soon the cleaners will be sent in to purify Ubisoft Connect of this game's existence. Now, if you are interested in trying the game for yourself, I can't fault you. It is a closed but not really closed beta, and these are just my gripes and faults I found within the closed beta package that I had to test. There is currently a campaign on Twitch where you can receive a closed beta drop. An invite for that if you're watching a channel with drops turned on. I mean, I think by default most drops are turned on, as well as some in-game gun skins. And you can also sign up through the XDefiant portal at ubisoft.com or through the Ubisoft Connect PC app. However, I would say just don't waste your time. This does need work. So thanks for tuning in.